after I went back to New York from Christie's Education in London, I ended up working for a gallery in New York called James Robinson that specialized in 18th century English silver and ceramics. And on the weekends, I thought I wanted to be a dealer. So I was selling material at one of the flea markets. This was in the mid 1990s. And at that time, a lot of the other vendors in the flea market were also selling 20th century furniture. And as luck would have it, every night I was packing my car up with the merchandise I hadn't sold, and they were cleared out and driving away with empty cars. And I realized that there was something going on, and maybe the 18th century material wasn't so popular. I gave up on that pretty quickly when I realized I was spending all of my weekends doing this and making no money. But eventually I ended up going into publishing, where I worked for the magazine Antiques. And I saw this theme continuing, where the antiques dealers were complaining that their market was dying, in essence. They had hit the heights of auction sales, and there were fewer dealers at that time, and the taste for mostly, American and European 18th century furniture was waning. So while I was at the magazine Antiques, I saw an opportunity to look at the design dealers. So the same people who had been selling design at the flea market with me were suddenly becoming gallerists, and they were a new element to this market that didn't identify with the antiques world. So I proposed a magazine concept to Ryan Brandt, whose father, Peter Brandt, is a big collector, and at that time owned Interview Magazine and the magazine Antiques and Art in America, and said it was time that we really look at 20th century material, and there's no space for it, and there's nobody writing about it academically or critically. And so we started a magazine called Modern, which ran until last year. So it had a very good run. It was acquired last year, and they closed it. But from there, I realized that live events or fairs were a great opportunity for this material as well. And there'd been one in New York called Modernism for many, many years, which was really the precursor to Design Miami in many ways, and the first fair solely dedicated to 20th century material. So from Modern, eventually I approached the people who owned Modernism, and we started a new fair called the Salon Art and Design at the Park Avenue Armory in New York. And I worked as a co-director of that for a number of years before joining Design Miami ultimately.